Let's talk about it. Here at Next Table Talk, once again, we have Anastasia here with us. We're glad to have you here with us
Happy
today.
To be here. Thank you.
Also, we have Keeping It Real Will.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
With us here. And then we have Mason is with us, and we're just talking. We're going to be talking about two different things. The first thing is about being what individuals can look forward to after getting married, being married. We'll probably highlight some little things about going into leading up to the marriage, but what would take place after you get married. Some of the things that perhaps we can share with one another, or share with someone who's looking forward, because once you get married, some things do change. It's a difference being engaged than being married. It's a difference in being dating and being engaged to get married. So we're just kind of going to highlight some of those things, and then right after that, we want to talk a little bit about this matter of being the habit of being holy.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I do want to go back to say in 1 Peter 4:8, and I want to read this from King James. It says, "And above all things, have fervent charity among yourselves, for charity shall cover the multitude of sin." And that word charity means love, that we ought to have that kind of love for among ourselves. And so if you have that love among yourself, and going into a marriage, there are going to be times where your love is going to have to be stretched, because fervent means to stretch. You have to have a love that will stretch, that will look over some things, perhaps your spouse, some things that your partner, your husband, your wife does, and because it hides that. And so you want to be able to do that. And one thing I do want to say before the rest of them begin to chime in is this here, is that I would say marriage is something like slow dancing. You have, both of you have to be able to keep up with each other. Will, anyone? Anastasia?
Well, I always start on the other end. I also want to tell you, we are so glad to be here. Thankful for you taking out a moment of your time to just even invite us to come talk. Some people have a preconceived notion of elected officials. They don't think we real. They
real.
They look at that. They look at that foo-foo picture in the paper and they're like, "Oh, she's so nice." Well, don't ask me, because I ain't your mama. I'm gonna tell you the truth. So I want to make sure we let Pastor Mason talk a little bit about a different perspective of marriage, because he's not, and he made a comment about that on the last segment. So being single means something when you have young people as well as millennials who are asking if they have perfected abstinence, and that's some of the things that we need to be able to touch on. In this day and time, millennials are more abstinent nowadays than they have been ever. Because they can get entertained over their phone, and they're afraid of commitment, and they lack patience. So I have some people who talk to me about millennials and their style of courtship, their style of dating. And so when you lack patience or lack maturity to handle certain things, because they robust, they want to just break right through it, or jump into a situation and just live together. I'm not going to be committed. I'm going to shack up because I need to know this person before I commit the rest of my life. So there's a different perspective for young people and a different perspective for seasoned folks who are a little bit older. So I wanted to give Pastor Mason an opportunity to share perspective. And then we'll go to Will, and I'll come back, because I'm going to talk about the habits of being holy. I can't tell y'all nothing about being married, because I waited all my life, and that was an exciting part for me. But if you don't get it right, you don't lose faith, you don't quit, you don't give up hope, you still have a mission to take off the old man and leave on the new man and practice being holy. So
Amen.
We're going to talk about it.
A lot of the times whenever you look, being a preacher, all of us sitting here have had lifestyles in the past. And whenever we met Jesus, there was something that happened that changed our ideology. And then our ideology changed, our perception and our perspectives begin to change as well. Most of the time, whenever I became a preacher, the devil sent them just the way I used to like them. And so there was opportunities everywhere I turned around to do whatever, and nobody would find out if that's what I chose to do.
Wow.
And so in the process of that, there was one eye that was always on me, and that was that all-seeing eye of God.
All-seeing eye.
And so to authenticate this process that we go through, we have to get on bended knee, because God has to redirect those animalistic appetites, and he has to calm them down so that we can, get our focus and our perspective right on him. And so in the process of going through that and looking at that, I have a philosophy, and I don't date.
Okay.
And the reason why I don't date, because you don't find it in the Bible. And if you don't find it in the Bible, then this is what we call today dating, and we want to compartmentalize and reclassify something that the Word of God don't even address like that.
Mercy.
Can I ask you now, when you don't date, what do you do?
If God says this is my wife, I believe back in Abraham's days and Isaac's days and Moses' days, they had it right. They went and got them and married them, and they stayed together. See, here's one thing let me explain it. But let me explain it. God told them, and they went.
Not all of them.
Isaac,
they had
a servant. Right, I'm with you. But it was all God. Okay. But here's the deal. For one, is that whenever we look at it from a realistic standpoint, love is not an emotion. Love is an action.
It's an action.
So when a person says, "Oh, I love them," or "I this them," or this, that, and the other, see, you can put two people together, and they can grow to love one another.
In essence, you can stay married. You can stay married without staying in love.
Well, and I'm gonna chime in. When you finish your definition, I want Brother Will to keep it real, to tell you that in order to stay married, there has to be some maturity and some selflessness.
Right, so I'm getting to there.
But if you're talking about biblical days, times,
there should be love. But then let me go back and just share this with you. It was Ruth that went and got Boaz. Boaz didn't go after Ruth. Ruth went after Boaz.
Well, and
they got married.
Watch this.
And explain the dowry. The dowry.
She put herself.
She went after
in position.
And Naomi, her mother told her to do that.
Okay, but here we go again with the scripture now. Remember, because he's the kinsman redeemer,
he still did not go after Ruth.
But Ruth, he didn't have to go after her.
Right. So you can't say everybody go that it works that way.
Okay.
It does not always work.
Here's the go after. Remember, he left stuff in his field. When he left stuff in his field, he was leaving it in the field because he started to inquire about this woman.
He was leaving stuff in his field, but he didn't know that she was there.
Now, let me finish. I'm coming somewhere. So in the midst of that, whenever he found out about that, he gave the prescription to the situation.
Leave it there for her to pick
right,
up.
But I'm talking about this kinsman redeemer.
Yeah.
He put in two places, either this man is going to do what he is obligated to do, or I'm going to do what I'm obligated by the Word of God.
But again, he did not go after, pursue her.
No, she popped up on the scene.
Okay,
she popped up on the scene.
I just want to make sure.
But, let me keep it $1. Even coming to church, going anywhere I go, women pop up on the scene all the time.
Yeah.
But just because they pop up on the scene don't mean that's the one for me.
Right.
So I have to.
Know that.
Right. No, God got to tell me. You know what I mean?
Right?
So in the process of that, what we got to look at, and this is how I govern myself. Okay, I haven't had sex since 2006, somewhere about 2006 in between 2007. Now, before that, I was highly sexually charged. All right, so God had a hand on doing whatever, because I got a bunch of testosterone running through me, but my appetite has changed due to the fact that I don't want to do anything to jeopardize.
Now we're getting somewhere. Now this is where, like Will was talking about, the mature part.
Here we
whereas
come.
There has to be, whereas our preferences changes because when God come into our lives. Go ahead, Will. I know you want to jump in there. Go ahead.
So this is what I was going to add to that is when you're stepping out of the old and who you were, and you are a willing participant, you know, meaning you have a contrite spirit. There's something that you've been convicted of, and you know where you're going now. Before you were wandering,
out there.
You was just out there, and you were moving. You really don't know who you are, who you belong to, and what you're really about. And something in that transformation in your relationship with Christ and God, He gives you that, and you are unbecoming. You're leaving from what you were toward that which God is calling you to be.
Let me interject right there. Do not lose your thought. I know I'm a professional at failing in relationship because every relationship that I had previous did not lead to marriage. It failed. I know how to fail.
Yeah.
That's the old person.
Yeah.
This new person that God is making, what He's constantly working on, is a person created in His perfection and His holiness. And there is no failure with God.
Right.
So as long as I do it the way God says do it, failure is not an option.
And what I hear you saying is you learn to see the value in dying to your eye for the sake of God. You know,
Like that. Like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
That's-
you saw the value in dying to eye.
Yeah, come on.
So we talked about this earlier. You know, sometimes we have to unlearn some things.
Yeah.
You know, there's some things that we were taught in our childhood, taught in relationships.
And it ain't right.
Right, and things we saw that
And it didn't work.
And not only is it not right, it's not healthy, it's not productive, it's not conducive to
brother.
growth. You talked about, you know, consistency that leads to maturity. You know, mature people, they don't hit and miss.
Right.
They really don't.
They bat 100% every time.
That's right.
Say that what you shared with us earlier about the plates. The plates.
Okay, so we were talking. Oh, good point. Good point.
Yes.
We were talking about, you know, once you transition, we're married now. We're
Yes.
married now, and things are different. It seems to be different. Well, guess what? It's supposed to be, because you're on this eternal process toward maturity. So you should expect things to be different. You know, when I was dating my wife, you know, I was green. I was full of lust. I thought it was love. It was lust.
Come on, tell the truth.
So
shame the devil.
when you move into this, you have to understand that there's some things that are going to come your way. There's children. You know, there's bills. There's work. There's all this. And I talk about plate spinning. You know, you have your spiritual plate, you have your financial plate, you have your relationship, your marital plate. You know, you ever seen that juggler? You know that it goes from plate to, and if you let one of them fall, now if you spend all your time over here spinning the work plate, you know, trying to build and acquire things, that marriage plate is gonna fall. That relationship thing, you gotta understand that it's a process to maturing, to becoming. And not only that, you get that. That's just a natural part of life. You know, when you were a freshman in high school, you were green, didn't know how to get to class, how the locker combination. By the time you became a senior, you look back at that thing, right? You look at that was so silly. You know what I'm saying? So here's the thing. You got your freshman year, you know, in high school, you got your freshman year in college, you got your freshman year in life, you got your freshman year in the marital relationship. When you talk about the dating thing, this is my way of saying, I said, be careful. I would tell my kids, be careful of the labels that you allow people to put on you.
Come on.
This is my boyfriend. This is my girlfriend.
Yeah.
I ought to know that it's a friend just because of the relationship. And if I can't tell if they're male or female, we got a whole nother conversation. You see what I'm saying? But bottom line, what I would tell them, be careful of the titles that you allow people to ascribe to you, because that means something to them that doesn't necessarily mean the same thing to you. The most important thing, and we talked about the courting deal.
So they get mixed up between a date and then
Yes.
just a day out.
Yeah, the day out,
That's
hook
right.
up. They got all kind
what I
of
call
titles
it?
for it now.
You can call me anything, but I might not answer
To what you call me. Right.
And because of that,
Mercy.
I understand my identity.
Yes, and know who you are, and
Come
you have to
on.
know who you are, where you're going. I love the old school mentality. You know, courtship was for the purpose of seeing if someone is marriage material.
Absolutely.
I need to know if I'm ready for this, and I need to know if you are somebody, you know, that I'm seeking after. But you need to be that which you desire the other person to be first.
Mercy.
If you're gonna put some requirements on somebody, and you not
So
behaving
many
that
times
yourself.
there are times when one may have a misinterpretation of the word date.
Absolutely, because
Or maturity.
it's just like your thumbprint. It's just like your thumb. Everybody got a different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
a
so
different
you
DNA.
thinking my DNA is supposed to match your? No, you become that. There's a graduation level. You know what I'm saying? I like the analogy of, when you think about the numbering system from 0 to 10, she's a 10 or he's a 10.
Watch out.
It was like, oh man, they got everything. Then don't you realize there's an 11 after
12,
the 10?
Yeah.
There's a 21, there's a 31, there's a 41.
That's something.
You see what you're
So-
always in this
So
continuum.
will y'all say that it should change?
Absolutely.
There should be.
If it don't, you need to be concerned, because you're really moving backwards.
You're not moving forward.
You see, you're moving backwards. I don't want to
So
be married to the
should-
same woman that you know what I said I was dating. We should be
Maybe-
becoming.
And
got-
both become mature.
One.
Yes.
They're growing into
That's
that
it.
maturity.
We both
Yeah.
need to learn how to die to our individual I for the sake of us.
Us.
And when you say that, when you say die to the individual eye, you really are allowing the Lord to lead you, because one eye looking at something and focused brings light to the entire body. It brings light. It'll
That's Bible.
illuminate the soul.
Yeah.
So if I'm looking for something and you think I'm something, but you're not looking for what I think you're looking for,
Come on.
then we have miscommunication and we don't understand the definition of understanding. So you may have to break it down even more and say, what is the definition of understanding? Because you won't deal with labels and you won't deal with feelings. You can actually move in a supernatural way to please God under authority, but the I will bring light to the soul if you're seeking the truth. Right. Now, if I'm looking for a lustful time, I can bring it.
And
I can find it. I can, So you say in a Christian arena that women will pop up all the time. But I even have the flip side of that, of working in a male dominant environment where men will let you know, hey, I'm not expecting you to be smart.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to just be cute.
Mm-hmm.
But in my arena, in order to move legislation forward, you got to do research backwards and forwards. You have to work with chairmen, and it's a male dominant arena, and most of them are 20 years older than you and white. So you have cultural insensitivity, gender insensitivity, age gaps, and their lifestyle and their experiences are not mine.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to be focused and precise on what I'm desiring, because you are made in His image, and because you are the creator, and because you have kingdom rights. You are the child of the king. You look like the king, but you can speak things into existence, and if that's what you're looking for, you can call that up. So be mindful of that.
One thing we may have left out too was not, I think it was Paul that made a statement that says that husbands or a wife, they will seek to please. He will seek to please her. Mm-hmm. He will seek to please him. Mm-hmm. And he said that, and if those who are not married, you're seeking to please God. And so with that goes back to there has to be a balance. And even if I don't feel up to it, I do my best to please.
Yeah, I'm always on your side. I'm on your team.
It's inside of that, and I think you're in 1 Corinthians chapter 7 where you're at. Mm-hmm. And even in the midst of that, whenever it's two now, and the selfless service is always thinking of the other and not of self. And when you involve the opposite sex it takes a lot of preparation, it takes a lot of planning, and it takes a lot of movement on both halves to get a biblical understanding of each other.
So let me tie this in, and because Anastasia, I heard you say it, and well, we've all hit it in some way, shape, or form. But you have to go back to understanding. We look to Christ in order to learn how to die to I. Mm-hmm. That's that common yoke. That's that glue. You know, that 3, strand cord.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
yes.
So if you keep that as the focus and understand that I'm going to understand who I am through my relationship with Christ. And when I really am intimate with him, he's going to reveal to me that which he designed me for from the very beginning.
Yes.
Because he says, I knew you before you was in your mother's womb. Mm-hmm. So that means he knew me and I knew him.
Amen.
Now somewhere in that transition from, being eternity, to coming into time, a concept of
from
time,
glory
from
to
birth,
glory.
you see what I'm saying? I lost concept of who he was, but he ain't never lost concept of who, and he said, those who know my voice, they hear me when I call them.
Right.
Okay, so bottom line, I'm looking to Christ in order to reflect what I am to be to my wife. She's looking to Christ to understand what she needs to be for me as her husband.
Can I throw this out there?
Go ahead.
All right, you can use your clinical. Because I'm fixing to rock the boat about
Come
it.
on,
Okay, please.
come on, because you're going to have to keep
All
it
right,
real.
here we
You
go.
got a
Here
short
it is.
period of
Here
time.
it is. A lot of the time, people come and they want to join together, and they both sick.
To have baked cakes.
Come on,
don't
man.
make a
Look,
hole.
they both sick. And they want the projection, and they want all of
Image.
this,
Yeah.
that image of being this, and this.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that you got people over here that look. I was a prostitute, and now
Yes.
I done got this much Jesus, and I'm well, and my husband over here
Lord.
that's been in 5 adulterous relationships,
Amen.
and then we're gonna come together like fish and bread, and you wonder why.
They get caught up on the label. They get caught up on when you made a very valiant point when we made this. Me and Anastasia talked about this too. You got boy becoming man, you got girl becoming woman, and then somewhere in the process they forget about that becoming and learning how to be a man or a woman.
Yes.
Boy meets girl, girl meets boy, and so they lose process of becoming fully done. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Put it in the oven.
That's right. And the toothpick is still wet.
Yeah.
They put
Ain't
the
no
toothpick
good.
in the cake to
Ain't
see
no
if
good.
it's done on the inside.
And you keep poking, it's gonna fall flat.
That's right. Yes.
This is my pivot right here. We're gonna start talking about being holy. And
No, we ain't done.
I said this though. With that, it's kind of like you expect these things happen because, as you said earlier, and I think all of us talked about it. You're growing into maturity.
Yes.
Most of the time, the male he leaves the stool top up. She leaves it down. You got to get somewhere in there. You got to be ready for that. That's.
There has to be some selflessness and some maturity.
Yeah.
Because you show me a relationship that's broke down and it's not working. If I look at it long enough, I'll show you somebody who's either being selfish or immature or both.
Yeah.
But that's what that is. Yeah.
I'm going to say this here. Okay,
Go ahead.
Anastasia, we're going
Listen, y'all go
one
ahead.
person to say something, that may help someone and you want to leave a word that what to expect when they get married. I'm going to let one of you guests, either Anastasia or Will say, and then we're going to move to
Another subject.
the habit of being holy.
The habit of being holy. Well, first of all, I want to say to people, be mature yourself. Never assume, because once you get married, you think you know one another, and older people will tell you nothing is so important that you can't let it go for 24 hours. Take the emotion out of it, because a lot of times women are offended because you didn't keep your promise. And you feel like, well, you don't have to apologize or say you're sorry. I'm just going to do better and I'm going to show you. But then when you get tired of doing that, we go back to the same thing. So the maturity comes in where we can look at each other and say, I'm bringing this to your attention because I'm hoping that you can see what I see. And if you're man enough to change that, then there's some progress. But most men have a detailed opportunity where you're not going to give me a list of things.
Let me help you with that, sister.
Yeah.
And I call it a soft startup.
Yes.
You know, baby, I see you. And from my heart to your heart, I know you better than what you behave. And I need for you to behave the better that's in you to behave. Because I'm counting on you to lead us into eternity. So it's that soft, you speak to his heart, from your heart. And I want you to receive my words and let them embrace you in love.
Care.
That's the love part. I said I want you to receive my words in love versus punching you in the face.
So you're standing up, being the priest of your house and your family.
But if the woman has to come to the priest, he has to understand that he is the authority. And if you are under submission and I'm subjecting myself to you, if you decide to get out of line, and if Christ is the head, if God is the head, Christ is the head, underneath him, and then your husband, and then you, if he gets out of line, then I'm out of order to go back and get you. So you have to have some maturity that when she says these things to you, that you can take them and ask, what does God say do? Not, well, I'm not going to let you tell me what to do. And I'm going to tell
you that Proverbs 31 woman has a relationship with God in which God will reveal to her how to speak to him according to knowledge of what she knows about him. But God is going to give her that knowledge.
That's correct.
And I'm telling you, a woman who has a relationship with God like that, she's not worried about how that man receives it, because she knows she's delivered what God told her to deliver. Now, what he does or does not do with it is not for her.
And if God told her to deliver that, he's going to accept it.
That's right.
Regardless of how, you know what I said?
If he's spiritually minded.
Paperboy delivering the news. So it just seems like we just can't stop.
That goes back with Paul and Ananias. He said,
but
he prayeth now.
Right.
He was ready to.
And you know, the one thing, and here's my observation doing marital counseling and things, a lot of people have inside of their marriage, their relationship with God is suffered.
Absolutely.
And when their relationship with God is suffered, then the marriage begins to suffer.
You really don't have a marriage. What you have is a broken relationship with the person who created you. So therefore, you're not moving and acting. You're not moving and operating as a married couple.
Now,
people think they come in and they say, "I need marriage counseling."
No, they don't. You need your relationship right with God.
You need individual counseling. Right. Is what you need.
So let me say this.
Got wound up.
When we look at this situation like that from that perspective. From our conversation, there's a relationship you have with God. Yes. I know you got a relationship with God, Pastor. Now, when we're attempting to talk to people, we have to digress to their level of understanding. And when on that digress, then we have to make sure that there's some egress, in and out, because there's a doorway where information is there, so we can get traction to have some progress.
So let me add this. Let me put this on that, and this is my one little thing that I wanted to add. You have to make an emphasis to seek to understand before being understood. If being understood is your number one go-to,
there it is.
Then your selfishness is going to supersede the marital relationship.
Man,
to understand
that's why I asked
versus being understood.
This is why I asked him to define understanding, because you're talking to young people, you're talking to people who've been married a long time.
No, hold it right there. Hold it right there.
Yes.
Right there. How about, now we've been talking about those in Christ, Christ-centered people. How about someone that don't know Christ,
yes,
and they're talking about marriage? What would you say?
I'll keep it real simple. Look, we can take the Bible from it, and I'll just go back to common sense principles. Okay. Just common sense. I told you I'm from Spencer, Oklahoma. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I'm not the dullest. But here is, what am I doing? Where am I going? And what do I have to offer?
What do you bring?
What am I bringing to the table? You know what I'm saying? Am I bringing a lot of baggage with me that has a lot of compartments? You ever go through the TSA inspection and they tell you, look, that's contraband. That's contraband. That's right. Not only is it going to cost you more, it might cost you a body cavity search because there's a guy on the other side that's going to look into some premises. Right. That it ain't going to be pleasant. Yeah. I tell people who coming in premarital, my job
able to finish.
We were talking about non-Christians being married and was using common sense, and Will was sharing about being that we should use common sense of how we respect one another, how we talk to one another, and those type of things.
Yeah. So on that, Mitch, when you're doing and moving and operating in ways that are unproductive to a healthy relationship. Yeah. You know it. And you know how I know you know it? Because you're hiding it. If you're hiding it, it's not something productive and conducive to a healthy relationship.
That's right.
Because you're trying to keep it in the dark. Now, the question you need to ask yourself is why am I doing it? What purpose is it serving?
To keep in dark. Egos.
I know that I have a problem with porn.
Yeah.
And I don't want that exposed because I feel the shame, the guilt, and if you call me out on it, I'm going to blame you for not putting out
Sound like Kurt Franklin.
You see what I'm saying? So
you ain't giving me what I need.
Bottom
line,
I
got to go get it somewhere else.
I don't care what it is. What it boils down to is you're not being transparent. You're compartmentalizing and you're storing. Now, and it's your healthy growth and production, productive growth is only going to be as good as that skeleton that you keep in the closet. If you come in, you say, Mr. Counselor, I want to deal with this, and this, knowing you need to deal with this thing
the real
over here,
issue.
The cadaver you got over here, you know what I'm saying, locked up in the closet. Now you can come and you can have conversation after conversation. That's still going to be with you when you leave.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean when I'm saying compartmentalizing. And sometimes we hide those things because we saw daddy hide them, mama hide them, or we just feel shameful about it. And one of the hardest things to do is to be transparent about something that I feel shame. Yeah. That's one of the tricks, the same trick that Satan used: shame, blame, and guilt.
Shame. That funny right there, that shame part. How I would look at love in an individual coming forth in that thing is this: knowing everything that can destroy me.
That's vulnerability.
But choosing not to hurt me with what you know about me.
Because some things that you can say to an individual, words, you can't take back.
You can't. You just can't. And then even in that, like what we were talking about earlier, if I got all this baggage claim, and I've suppressed it in a previous relationship, I'm damaged, and I haven't got rid of that. I got rid of all that, and I come and I jump in a new one.
It's still with you.
And then it begins to surface whenever the fire gets turned up,
or it manifests like cancer,
and it starts to destroy it.
That's right.
Okay, so in the midst of that. And see, this is the part about where people really don't understand what's really going on about them individually and about their partner collectively.
And they're not seeking to the problem is they're not seeking to understand.
No, they don't
understand self.
Come on, man.
Hey, boy, part of the problem is we don't renounce those things.
Those hidden things
we know that we have, and the Bible will tell us in 2 Corinthians 4:2. We don't renounce those things. The things that we say in society, we know they're evil. We tolerate them. We stay with it. We don't detox our souls. We still listen to the same music, still go to the same places and say, well, I'm a Christian now. I don't have to do what they do. I can be set apart. And that's why God calls us to be set apart. But we don't do those things on a constant way.
Let me give this, because I know our listeners and our folks out there, they need some how-tos.
Yes.
You know, I train and teach people how to really apologize. You know, some people, you know, they apologize because they got caught. You know, so there is no contrite spirit. I just got caught. And now in society, in my, you know, environment, has taught me what to do to get back in good graces. I need to offer an apology. You know, when my kids would sometimes come to apologize to me, what are you apologizing for? What'd you do? You know what I'm saying? Do you know what you did in order to hurt me? You know, a true apology, it goes something like this. You know, sister, I recognize that I hurt you when I said, or wife, or husband, I hurt you when I said whatever it is. And I know I hurt you because I saw something in your body language change. I saw your spirit. I saw it in your eyes. And now I knew that I should have stopped and not did what I was doing then, but I was hurting.
Yeah.
And because I was hurting, I wanted you to hurt. So I kept going. I want you to know that not only do I know I hurt you, I know when, and I know I hurt you and I cut you bad. And because of that, I want to apologize to you and tell you that I have decided to do better. Now, you may not believe that right now, but I'm telling you, from this day forward, you can put me on notice, put me on check. But I know I hurt you. Now that's an apology. I know what I did to offend you.
Yeah.
And it hurts me to know that I was such in a dark place that I did that to you.
That
because
I was willing to do that to you.
If I'll do that to you,
then I'll do it to anybody.
Anyone.
You know, I often,
including myself.
Can I put the Bible there?
Sure.
Okay, in Proverbs chapter 18, verse 14, the Bible says that the spirit within a man shall sustain his infirmity, but what man can stand a wounded spirit? Wounded folk wound other folk. And so I often tell people this all the time, and this is a practice that we all should practice, is that at the end of the night, grab your significant other. Look them dead eyeball to eyeball and tell them, baby, I have not been the man of God that I needed to be for you.
Go down
on that wrath. I have not been that man, and I'm asking you.
And if there's anything that I've done,
that I've done to offend you, I apologize.
Now that's a man worth chasing. You chase further now, brother. You chase further now.
I'm sorry.
She'll seek after you.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
That's a chase further man.
But I'm gonna do, because I didn't just hurt you. I hurt my father. And if my father gave you to me, I did not.
There's a vessel.
And guess what? And I don't want to have to give an answer.
I don't want daddy to hit me.
I don't want daddy to whoop me.
Forgive me.
When daddy lays his hand on me, it hurts. It hurts my heart.
Boy, come on now.
That goes back to having a relationship with him. We started out with that, and so some of those habits of being holy is first having a relationship with him. There are not a whole lot of men that will just apologize on GP at night before you go to bed. They'll go to bed before you.
Because you might not wake up. What happens if you don't wake up?
But that's only if you believe God. That's only if you believe God. That's only if you convict
What
Him.
happens?
That's only if you get it. That's only if you get it. If you don't get it,
but here's the
and
thing.
you're not a Christian,
when you're too full of the world and the way that the world goes about doing things, the way the world operates, then you have that world mentality inside of you, and it's going to manifest in your actions, in your relationships.
This actually happened here in the service, 11 o'clock service. One of
watch out now! Don't tell it all. Don't tell it all.
No,
they was here.
One of the members came, and the wife had not come at that time. They were doing 11 o'clock hour worship service, and he was leading a song, and he had left home. He had got a kiss. His wife had kissed him. Baby, you look good. And he came on to church, and he was singing a song. And while he was singing, he leaned back and went to heaven.
Mercy.
But the beauty of leaving home and love that. Because you're going back to what you're saying.
Yes.
We don't know.
We don't know. We
Time,
don't.
the day.
We don't.
The hour.
And it was so beautiful. to be able to lead that way, but leave even the loved one and loving on each other.
Yeah.
Let me say this before I'm gonna shut up after I say. I gotta say this.
Okay, go ahead. Come on.
We as a people of God, we deal with the most insignificant things we put at number one priority in our lives. And we go and we pine over stuff that don't make a lick of sense. And the important stuff that really matters. Look, if you got kids, enjoy your children. Don't be no tyrant and things like this. If you got a husband, enjoy your husband. If you got a wife, enjoy him. There are not issues that you can't get over in that marital relationship if you really love God.
Love again
Covers up,
stretches.
come on, man.
You gotta be willing. Gotta be willing to stretch.
Our sin.
Come on, stretch me out wide.
I'm glad to have you guys here. What I'm going to do, and since we kind of moved a little lengthy in this, we're going to put on the next cast will be shown, and we'll be talking about, and it's coming right after this one. Will be on the habit of being holy. Okay. Until the next table talk, we'll see you then.